message.
We spend a brief moment in silence. In the words of my mouth, in the meditations of our hearts, be now and always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Mama, ekda kunta bhasha dekha පාවිච්චි කරන්න යනවා කියන්න බොහෝ දේවල් තියෙනවා පුළුවන් තරම් කෙටියෙන් මම ඒවා කියා දේශනා කරන්න මම සූදානම් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. I have fought the good fight. I have kept the faith. I have fought the good fight and I have kept the faith. මම යහපත් යුද්ධ කෙරේ. ඇදහිල්ල රැකගත්තා. යහපත් යුද්ධයේ යුද්ධ කෙරෙමි. ඇදහිල්ල රැකගත්තා. I want to take your minds back to 1969 January. 69 January, when Bishop Lakshman, as was the custom at that time, sent theological students to various parts of the diocese before entering Pilimatalawa for practical training. Maybe a farm, maybe an institution, maybe a parish, whatever it was. But each had to go at least for 1.5 years to a place before entering the college for theological education. I was assigned to come to Gampala for 6 months before I went into the Theological College of Lanka, Pilimatala. I came, not knowing anything about the parish, not knowing anybody here, but fresh from my own home and other little experiences, I was asked to come and work here with Canon DeMille and his wife, two beloved people, Harold and Hema DeMille. It is then that I came to know the Jirasinha family. Now I must say I have been at your grandmother's funeral. Leslie's funeral was also a funeral I attended. I went half attack telling you now, you won't remember. The preacher at Leslie's funeral was Reverend Canon James Rathanai. The only thing I remember in the sermon is this: the Jirasinhas are fighters, but he qualified himself by saying they always fought for the cause of others. Very appropriate for us to remember. The Jirasinhas are fighters. He qualified very quickly because you can go home with the wrong idea. He said, but they always fought for a cause. At the onset, I want to say that speaks the whole volume of the Jirasinhas. You had a priest in your family. I remember all those history. I can't repeat all that now. And all the experiences of being in this parish. And long before the diocese and people thought of having all religions together in church activities, Gampala gave the lead. There was a wonderful sewing class of which Indra was part. And also Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians all worked together with no problem at all. If you go back, how many of you have this magazine, I don't know, the 25th anniversary magazine of the Diocese of 1975 has a clear picture of the sewing class in progress, and Indra is also one of them found in that photograph. It is now that we are excited about getting together all nationalities, but Gampala gave the diocese a start as far back as 54 years old, of which Indra was definitely a part of this setup. She lived a full life. She passed the biblical span of life, 70 years, and if you have the strength, 80 years. She passed all that. And her life was a reflection of what God gave and did in and through her life. That's what you have to remember. she reflected what God had given her and done through her in a long span of life. And that is why we have to remember. What does it mean when you say you remember a person? I don't think it's just remembering 40 days and 39 days and all that kind of thing. There's something far more in that. What do you mean by remembering somebody? You bring that person in your mind to this very moment of time, place him or her here in your mind, and then you remember that, and then think of her, in this case, her life, attitude to life, words in life, how she reacted in various aspects of life, the advice she gave, and all that she was, beginning with the family and ending like that, going on, reaching out to many other people. Now, she was a very neatly dressed person, dressed very well, not out of fashion or whatever you call it, and a hallmark of her life, I remember, was the great silence. We are talking too much all the while, all of us. We are talking all the while far too much, everywhere, church and outside. She was able to absorb what was happening around her and keep it within and do what was necessary in that instance. That was one of the main qualities for which I give thanks to God for her life today. The Jirasinhas could have been a bit calibrified at some time. All of us were there, nothing, no secret. But she held the serenity. That's what I want to say. The serenity of life, Indra was able to hold in the ups and downs of life. Please remember the family. If you can inherit something of a life, that is one thing. Very, very important. Not to be driven by all these waves of teaching and all sorts of things happen around you, to keep the serenity of life and know that everything will go on. We take our own part and play our part as God has called, equipped, and continues to use all of us, you and I, as He did in the life of Indra. And from that time onwards, I have been coming here at various times. I had the great privilege, this I must say, of from Vilmatanava to come to Gampana for anything that was necessary, especially when the priest was not here. And then I used to phone and report to Canon Email and say, so and so has passed away. I have done everything. Tomorrow 3 o'clock, come for the funeral. I have done this a number of occasions to ask me at little instances. So it was a parish that actually showed the qualities of Christ in what they did and their witness. I remember this church decorated for Easter 1969. Not a single cent was used. What was used for the flowers? Easter lilies, dark red. Easter lilies filled this whole church with a dark green background. Try to imagine. That's a time when Easter lilies bloom during the Easter period. I can still close my eyes and see the whole church, dark red Easter lilies with suitable greenery in the background. In all this, I want to say was how the parish family ran at that time. The Jirasinhas have been the watchdog of the church. This is true. You had the fortune of being opposite the church. No one was permitted to walk into these premises unnecessarily. Henry would come rushing across the road. What are you doing here? Because make run. That was the alert mind that all the Jirasinhas had, that Henry especially, so that they felt deep down that this was something of what they needed to do. They were not paid to do that. They felt this was the property, the church of God, and to be cared and looked after and cherished and nurtured are the right words, as long as you have strength to live, to work, and to witness. And the Jirasinhas had this right through. I remember coming for various family occasions, funerals, good occasions, and sort of sad occasions, And on all those occasions, it was highlighted that this was their quality of life. This was about Sunday school, sewing classes, interreligious activities, name it, Indra was there. And playing not a prominent part. We like to take the front seat, but she preferred the back seat and to do work and acknowledge that God gives us all these gifts. She didn't exhibit a flamboyant faith and say, I have faith like this, enormous faith, I have faith, I pray, I do this and that. She did all that, but never made it visible or known. And where did the secret lie? Within her, within. That is where she gained her strength from. Definitely nurtured by the sacrament, by the word, worship and all that. And she was able to preserve all that deep down within her life and take it out when necessary. To rely, it is useless saying we are saved and this and that and something else if you don't demonstrate that in life. It is useless. Useless for anybody. Better not to talk about it and to live a Christian life. Far better. And so that is what I would like you to remember in her life, work and in her witness. And just pass that on to generations to come. And that is what I think all of us who knew her and loved her and knew the family up to this very point of time to absorb something of their own lives into our own. To take something within, keep it and use it when and where necessary. And her life, the fragrance of her life, I want to say, cannot diminish with her departing from our midst. The fragrance of life is what remains. The fragrance of a life that has gone ahead of us is what we recall from time to time, and in and through that fragrance, you and I, who continue to live, we have to gain strength and courage as she did for our pilgrimage of life and love. And that fragrance is something I think we all have to preserve as we remember and think of. And make that your own, make that all of us, make that our own, all those who have known in life, and that would be to me an eternal remembrance. Not just on a particular day or year or time, but an eternal remembrance when we remember and recall the fragrance of a life, which is all over the place. It can't be diminished. All over the place, and that is something of which we could absorb into our own lives, and then once again, that would be an eternal remembrance of her. We must remember Henry also at this time. They worked together. And sometimes I used to think that when Henry was sort of little aggressive, I think she put the brake. I think I'm true. True, I've got long, 54 years. She put the brake at the right time. And it worked very well. Not flamboyantly, simply. She put the brake, and I think things went on. You have to have dissension even in churches, but it has to be resolved. You don't have dissension and go take that home and read again next year or something like that. But in her sense, I think she added sanity and quality of life into the lives of members of her family. And the heritage that she has given us is now ours to prosper and take into the generations that are coming after us. The challenges for the family especially, and for all of us who live. And please remember that what you have to do is to pass it on from one generation to another. The fighting faith of Jirasingers must continue in and through your lives of generations that come. And to fight again, I'm going to say, to fight for the cause of others. You didn't fight for your own self and gain anything, as far as I know. It's always standing up and fighting for the cause of somebody else, or the church, or society, whatever. And that was the Christian conviction that Indra had in a very serene way of life. That I'll never forget. Dressed neatly, carried a life in that manner, gave out not only more advice that by deed, I think, but by what she was, not what she did, and not by advice given. Some of us are very quick to give advice. Clergy have that very special temptation. But she was there to lend a hand when it was this, beginning with the family, the church, and the outside. And so, we give thanks to that. I'm glad to be part of this celebration of life. We have to always remember that we don't remember with tears in our eyes, but with grateful and thankful hearts to God that He gave a long pilgrimage of life and a useful pilgrimage. Not wasted, but used for the edifying of God's kingdom. And so, I like to end with that wonderful verse which I will never forget. Hebrew letter encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, of which Indra is one now. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Let us run with patience as she did the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Indraගේ ජීවිතයේ සේවය සාක්ෂිය ගැන අපි දෙවියන් වහන්සේට මේ මොහොතේ සිදුවන්න. අවුරුදු 57කට පෙර ඇදිලා ගත්තා වූ මම දැන ඇත්තා වූ පවුල සහ ඇගේ ජීවිතයේ තිබුණා ගුණාංගයන් කිහිපයක් මම සඳහන් කරන්න ඕනේ. පළවෙනි දේ තමයි ඊටාම ශාන් විශ්වාසයක් අතුලාන්තයේ තිබුණා. ඒ විශ්වාසය ඇදහිල්ල අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට එළියට ගත්තා. මේ සංකේතාත්මක අපි කියන්නේ. මම විශාල ඇදහිල්ලක් ඇත්තා වූ දැලැත්තියක් කියලා කිව්වේ නෑ. මම ඇදහිල්ලෙන් පූර්ණ පරිපූර්ණ වූ කෙනෙක් කියලා කිව්වේ නෑ. නමුත් ඇතුළාන්තයේ තිබුණා වූ ඇදහිල්ල වරින් වර අවශ්‍ය අවස්ථාවේදී ප්‍රයෝජනෙට ගත්තා. අරගෙන ඒ ඇදහිල්ල විශ්වාසය අවශ්‍ය දෙයට පරිවර්තනය කරලා බොහෝ දෙනාගේ ප්‍රයෝජනය සුභ සිද්ධිය පිණිස වාර්තා කළා වූ ආකාරය අපට මට මනාවට නැවත මගේ හිතට එනවා. ඇගේ ගුණාංග මේ දේවස්ථාන පළාතේ දියෝකීසියට විශාල පාඩමක් ලබා දුන්නේ කාලේ සියලු ජාතීන් සහ ආගම් එක්ව සේවය කරන්නා බව දැන් තමයි අපි කලබල වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ගිනි ඇවිලෙනකොට තමයි මතක් වෙන්නේ. ඒ විදිහ වුණේ හැමදෙනාම එක්ක අහුවෙලා මේ බහුම්පත්. ලෝක සතපුරා ඒ කාලේ මේ වගේ දිනු කාලයක් නෙවෙයි. අවුරුදු 57කට කලින්. ඒ නිසා එවැනි සුළු දේවල් වලින් විශේෂ දේවල් වලින් අප දියෝකීසියට මේ දේවස්ථානයෙන් ඒ ආදර්ශය ලබා දුන් බව ඉස්සකව මතක් කරන්න කැමතියි. ඉන්ද්‍රා ඒ කොටස්කාරයක් හැටියට ඒ දේවල් විශ්‍යාකාරයෙන් ඉෂ්ට කළා වූ ඒ කණ්ඩායමට අයත් වූ දේවස්ථානයට ඉතාම කිට්ටු ලැබියාවක්. ඔවුන් දේවස්ථානයේ බුදුරින් හිටපු ඉඳ එපුරි පවුලේ මහසාය නිතර මේ ගැන සෝදිසිස්. අපේ වැඩක් නෙමෙයි කවුරු අවිල කරනකොට අපිට කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. එහෙම ආකාරයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. මේක අපි රැකගත යුතුයි කියනා වූ ආකල්පය තුළ මුළු ජීරසිංහ පවුල සංකේතාත්මක වුණා. මේක අදහස් ගන්න කියනවා මේක කියන්නේ නෙවෙයි නමුත් ඒ වගේම ඇගේ ජීවිතේ මම හිතන්නේ ඒ පවුලට ටිකක් කලබල වෙනකොට ෆයිට් එකකට යනකොට නිශ්චලතාවය සහ අනික් පැත්ත පෙන්වා දුන්නේ ලබා දුන්නේ ආදර්ශයකට අරගෙන දුන්නේ ඉන්ද්‍රාගේ ජීවිතයේ සේවය තුලින් කියලා මම ගැඹුරින් හේතු ගන්නවා ඔබ ඉදිරියට මේ. ඒ වගේම නොයෙකුත් ගුණාංගයන් තිබුණා. හැමදෙනාම කවුසෙරෙවි ඒ නිවස ආගන්තුක සත්කාරයට ලැබි. ඒක බයිබලයේ කියන අවශ්‍ය දෙයක්. Christian hospitality, a necessary part of Christian witness. ඒ නිවස හරිය අපිට කියනවා දේවගත නිවසක් වගේ. ඒ අසමාන. අදත් ඒ වගේ ඒ ගුණාංගය ඒ තුල ඇති වෙනවත් එකම අපිට අවශ්‍යකම තියෙනවා ඒවා අපේ කරගෙන ජීවත්. නැත්නම් සිහි කරන කිසිම ප්‍රයෝජනයක් නැහැ. අපි සිහි කරනවා ගෙදර ගිහින් කතා කරලා බොහොම හොඳයි කියලා ගෙදර ගිහින්. ඒක වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒගේ ජීවිතේ දෙයක් අරගෙන අපේ ජීවිතේ කොටස් කරගන්න ජීවත් වෙමින් පරම්පරාවෙන් පරම්පරාව ඒ ගුණාංගය පත් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් මම විශ්වාස කරනවා තදින් ඒත් ගන්නවා ඒගේ ජීවිතයේ තිබුණා වූ අලංකාරය ඒ අලංකාරත්වය පරම්පරාවෙන් පරම්පරාවට දෙනකොට එහෙම තමයි මේ ජීවිතවල අගය සහ රස කොටස් මේ ජීවිතේ උරුම කරගන්නකොට අපේ ජීවිතත් ඇගේ ජීවිතය වගේ අලංකාර කරගන්න ආදර්ශයක් ගන්න හැකි ආකාරයකට ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අන්තිමේදී මම කියන්න කැමති හෙබ්‍රේය වාසීදී යවුම් පත්‍රයේ මෙපමණ මහත් සාක්ෂිකාර සේනාවකින් වටවී සිටින්නා වූ ඒ සේනාවේ දැන් කොටස්කාරය අප ඉදිරියේ තබා තිබෙනා වූ දිවීම අප ඉවසිලිමු. අප ඉදිරියේ තබා තිබෙනා වූ ජීවිතය නැවති දිවීම අපි ඉවසිලිමු. ඒ වගේ පවුල් ඇගෙන අපි යාඥාව සම්පූර්ණ බව වරින් වර මතක් කරන්න ඕන. ඒ ආරංචි වෙනකොට අපි මරණ ආරංචි වුණේ ඊට පස්සේ සෙන්ට් පෝල්ස් වලත් අපි නම් වශයෙන් සීකලා ඒක දැනගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම මේ නම මේ උගලගේ පරම්පරාවෙන් ඉදිරියට යන්න ඕනේ. ඒක තමයි ප්‍රධාන මේ නවතුන්න බෑ. ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න ඈ සහ ජීරසිංහ පවුලේ ගුණාංගය වර්ධනය කරන්න. හරි මාර්ගයට යොමු කරලා ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්න ඒක දේව රාජ්‍ය උදෙසා ඔබ පවුලේ ඉතු කරන්න උත්සාහයක් ඇටියට මම හිතනවා. මම ඉදිරියෙන් කියන අදහස් කරන්නේ අපි මේ ජීවිතයේ සේවය ගැන ස්තුති කරමු. එවැනි අයවරුන්සේ ජීවත් වෙන සාක්ෂි දරන දේව රාජ්‍ය වර්ධනය පිණිස ජීවත් වෙන්නට සේවය කරන්නට ඒ වන්දනා ආශිර්වාදය ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. ආමෙන්.